I lived in a great town. Crime was rare and everybody got along, so my parents had always been okay with me going a couple miles away from the house. I have a large family, and usually my cousins were with me, so that just reinforced the whole safe idea. But all that changed on one day. My cousin Mikey and Lily were over at the time. I was 10. I'm a boy, by the way. Mikey was 8, and Lily was 6. We told our parents we were going fishing at the creek that was a mile and a half down the road. We took our dog with us. It was a pretty hot day, so we wore our bathing suits down. After doing the routine snake check, we started swimming and fishing and just having a good time, until that truck came. It was a red truck, pretty beaten down, but that was normal for our town, with all the farmers and such. It stopped right in front of us, so we got out of the creek to see what the guy wanted. As soon as he rolled down the window, I got a bad feeling. His hair was greasy and black, and he smelled like he hadn't taken a shower for quite a long time. He was a big guy, wearing a dirty white tank top, and I couldn't see his pants. He just stared at us for a minute, like he was sizing us up. He kept his eye on Lily for an uncomfortably long time. I'm not gonna lie, Lily was pretty for a 6-year-old. Blonde hair, blue eyes, and pretty tall for her age. That didn't give the guy any excuse for staring at her like he was some sort of a starving animal who just found his next meal. "Are you just gonna stare at us or what?" Mikey said, breaking the silence. I could tell he was annoyed, because we were probably missing a bite, but that man didn't care. "That's a pretty good-looking girl you got there," he said. He said it as if she was a prize, some sort of thing to be proud of. I'd give anything to have a little girl like that. "Well, she's my sister, so back off," Mikey said, stepping in front of her. Mikey usually wasn't super protective of her, but he was starting to tell something was wrong. We started to head back to the water when the creep said, "You kids want to come to my house and see my pony?" Lily had a little bit of a horse obsession. She was sold. This guy was fine to her, but Mikey and I were certain this guy was going to do something to us, something really bad. "Come on, Lily, let's just start heading back. We can just swim in the pool," I said. I was hoping my voice didn't sound as scared as it actually was. We headed back down to the water to get our poles and the dog, and head back to the road. The guy had watched us the whole time. Lily was upset about the pony, but we convinced her that swimming was just as fun. But as we started to head down towards my house, back towards safety, the guy turned around. He was right behind us now. "Hey Lily," he called out. "If you come to my house, I'll let you ride my pony. She's really cute." It scared me that the guy called her by her name for some reason, but Lily didn't catch on. "No, we're going swimming now," she said. She had apparently lost all interest in the pony, so the guy just decided to get closer to us. I'm not kidding when I say he was probably 3 or 4 yards behind us. We moved to the side, and so did he. That's when we started panicking. I whispered to Lily to pretend like she saw something cool in the woods. She was confused why me and Mikey were suddenly so eager to get off the road, but she went along with it. "Hey look, a bunny," she said, pointing into the woods. "Oh, let's go catch it," I said. We started heading into the woods when the creep called out again. "You kids are gonna need some help with that rabbit. I'll be right out." This guy just invited himself into our imaginary bunny hunt to get away from him. I knew now that we could be killed. We were still more than a mile away from home, and none of us could move faster than his truck. No thank you," we said, backing slowly into the woods. The dog was growling now. Obviously, she sensed something was wrong. "I won't take no for an answer," the guy said, and as he hopped out of the truck, I could see what he was wearing for pants. Nothing. The man had nothing on but a tank top, no underwear, no socks, absolutely nothing. Lily now understood why we had been so afraid of this man. She screamed, and I picked her up and ran. That's when the guy started running too. The guy was pretty slow, but carrying Lily slowed me way down. Remember, I was 10, and I was pretty underweight, and I knew I couldn't do this much longer. So I put Lily down and climbed up a tree, pulling her right up after me. I screamed at Mikey to get the adults, and he took the dog and ran. I helped Lily up the tree, higher and higher, until we couldn't climb anymore. The guy waited under the tree the whole time, yelling how he was going to get us down, and how he was going to take us home, and how he was going to make us ride his pony. Lily knew that there was no pony now, so we just screamed and cried for a good 15 minutes. The guy tried to climb the tree a couple of times, but he was too fat, I guess. It hurt his bare skin too much. Eventually, he heard our parents yelling, and he booked it to his truck. We heard it speed away, and a minute later, our parents were there, and we were screaming and crying about the naked man with the pony. I wasn't allowed outside anymore for a long time after that. I didn't want to be alone outside after that. It absolutely terrified me that that man tried to kidnap and do God knows what to us, only 2 miles away from my home. Even 4 years after that, I still made my parents or older family come outside with me. I was absolutely terrified. I never saw that man again. Our parents filed a police report, but they never found him. He probably came to our area to pick out a few victims. I'm glad he never got any. I used to take the bus everywhere. I go to my piano lessons downtown on the bus and be back around 9:15 to 9:30 unless I missed the bus or something. One night I missed it twice because first I was in this little store using the restroom and it passed, and the second time the bus literally just drove past me without even stopping, even though I was waving my arms. I was sitting out at the bus stop at about 9:20 p.m. on this lonely street downtown. I didn't own a cell phone at the time, when a car stopped in front of me and rolled down the windows. This guy asked me if I wanted a ride. I couldn't see his face because it was dark, but he had a deep but sweet voice. I politely declined. Come on, it's not safe for a beautiful young girl like yourself to be out here alone. I'm fine, thanks, I said. He said okay and drove off. A few minutes later the bus came and I happily got onto it. I got to my bus stop and started walking home. The bus stop closest to my house was about a 20-minute walk. I was walking down this street when I had a very unnerving feeling. It was dark and much later than the usual time I would be walking, but it wasn't that, it was something else. I looked around and noticed this car parked a few ways behind me. I kept walking down the sidewalk. I heard a soft noise, such as an engine to a car start up. I hadn't noticed before. I looked back and realized that the car behind me was on, but it had its headlights off. I started walking faster and looked back to see the car driving a little bit faster as well. I just stopped and turned around and waved so that he or she would know I noticed him. I don't know why I thought it would be a good idea. The car drove closer to me and a chill ran down my spine when I recognized it. It was the same car from earlier downtown. It got next to me and rolled down the window. "Are you sure you don't want that ride?" the creep asked. I couldn't believe he had followed me. I started speed walking, but the guy sped up and parked right on the sidewalk, nearly running me over. I screamed and ran around the car, but the guy opened up the door and grabbed me. I was 17 at the time and a whopping 109 pounds, so my kicks and punches against him were no match. I was sure I was dead. The next thing I know was a pair of headlights pointing straight at us, honking like crazy. The man turned and still tried to shove me in the car, but was more distracted by the other car now. It was my dad and my brother. Turns out they had noticed I wasn't home because I always got home and just locked myself in my room. When they realized I wasn't home, they drove to the bus stop where I got on and saw me getting attacked by that man. My brother jumped out of the car so fast and came running at us. The man dropped me and tried getting in his car, but my dad had gotten to us too, and both him and my brother proceeded to beat the guy up. My brother then took me to our car while my dad had the man pinned down. We called the cops and the guy was arrested. Long story short, he got convicted, and turns out he had been in jail before for indecent exposure to a young girl. He had just tried to go to the next level by kidnapping me and doing whatever the hell he would have done. I got picked up for the rest of the year instead of taking the bus home, and got a taser and pepper spray and defense lessons. I'm pretty good at self-defense now, but luckily I haven't had to use it. This happened when I was about 14. I had just started babysitting for this family in my neighborhood. They had 2 kids, a boy who was at the time 10 and a girl who was at the time 8. They were great kids to babysit. They got along well with each other without fighting, and always did what I asked of them without complaining. It was a fall Friday night, pretty sure it was late November, right after Thanksgiving, and I arrived at the house about 6 o'clock. The kids were already sitting down, eating dinner when I got there, and the parents told me that they expected to be home around midnight or so. The parents had also made a joke about how the kids had the whole street to themselves since the other families that lived there were out of town for Thanksgiving. The parents left, and the kids finished eating, and we went outside to play in the cul-de-sac. I remember locking the front door and taking the house key outside with me. The kids rode around on their scooters for about an hour. For some reason, I just felt really on edge while the kids were outside playing. I chalked this feeling up to knowing that we were alone on the street since everyone else was out of town. After the kids finished playing outside, we went inside to play Wii in the basement. I remember locking the front door once we were back inside and putting the key on the kitchen counter. I then checked the front door again before I went downstairs to the basement. I was super vigilant about checking the doors because I had watched so many scary movies where the babysitter forgets to lock the door and then some crazy murderer gets into the house, and then you know what happens next. As the kids are playing in the basement, I get an unsettling feeling again. I didn't feel like we were being watched. It was more like when you know that something is going to pop out in a scary movie and you're just anticipating it on the edge of your seat. That feeling stuck with me for the entire time that we were in the basement, but again, I chalked it up to knowing that the entire street was empty. The clock strikes 10, and it's time for the kids to head to bed. We go to the top floor of the house where the kids' bedrooms are. The house is set up so that when you open the front door of the house and come inside, you're standing in the foyer with the stairs to go up to the top floor directly in front of you. If you're standing in the foyer, you can see all the way up the stairs into the bathroom on the top floor. So the kids are in the bathroom brushing their teeth, and we all clearly hear a car pull in the driveway. I figured that their parents came home super early, and I expect to hear the garage door start opening, but that sound never came. I walk into the girls' bedroom and look out the front window. The car's running in the driveway, and there's a man in the car, but the headlights are turned off, despite it being 10 o'clock at night and pitch black outside. I figured it was someone who just got lost in the neighborhood and was using the driveway to stop and get their bearings before heading back out on the road. I leave the girls' bedroom and head back into the bathroom where the kids are. Suddenly, I hear a knock at the front door. I turn around, and there's a man standing at the door holding a pizza box. There are 2 long windows on either side of their front door, so I have clear view of the guy, and I know that he has a clear view of us. I immediately get that eerie feeling that I had been feeling all night. I asked both of the kids if they ordered a pizza for some reason, and they both said no. The kids were always very honest and wouldn't lie about something like that, or even order a pizza without asking me, so I knew that they were being truthful. Normally, I would have gone downstairs to see what the guy wanted. Maybe he had the wrong house, and I could point him in the right direction, but that little voice in my head was screaming, "Do not go downstairs, don't open the door." The guy also didn't look like he worked for any pizza company. Normally, they would be wearing a uniform or a hat with the company's logo on it or something. This guy just seemed off. He looked like he was in his late 30s, early 40s. His shirt was really wrinkled, and his pants were filthy and ripped. He had a ratty black baseball cap pulled down super far so that his eyes were covered. He was also grinning really aggressively, like I thought this guy's teeth would just shatter because of how hard he was pressing them together. At this point, the kids noticed him and start asking why he's there. Should we open the door? Etc., etc. I tell them no, and ask them to go into their rooms and lie down. The boy goes to his room, and I walk the girl to her room, and look out the window at the car again. I notice that the car doesn't have one of those pizza delivery signs on the top, which all of the pizza companies in my town require to do deliveries. So now I feel really confident that this guy isn't a legit pizza delivery guy. The girl gets in bed, and I come back out of her room and sit down on the top of the stairs so that I can keep an eye on this guy. I try to stay really calm and not upset the kids, even though I was flipping out on the inside. He's standing there at the door, holding the pizza box in one hand, and he's still grinning that teeth-shattering grin. His mouth almost looks too big for his face, even though I can't see his eyes because of the hat. I know that he's staring at me. Then, without breaking eye contact, he starts jiggling the door handle pretty aggressively while still grinning. I silently thank God that I was so psychotic about making sure that the front door was locked. He stops jiggling the handle and resumes staring at me. If I was in this situation now, I probably would have called the police immediately, but being only 14 and fairly new to babysitting, I was paralyzed with fear. I felt like if I took my eyes off him for a second, when I looked back, he would be standing at the base of the stairs. After about another 5 minutes of the stare down, he literally starts walking backwards off the porch without breaking eye contact. Legit, this dude is walking backwards towards his car while he's staring at me. I go into the parents' bedroom, which also has a view of the driveway, kneel down in front of the window, and peek out. I'm expecting to see this guy getting into his car. Nope, the guy is nowhere in sight, but the car is still there, so I return to my perch at the top of the stairs, half expecting to see him at the door again, or worse, standing at the bottom of the stairs. But he was nowhere to be seen. After about 20 minutes, I hear the car starting. I run back to the parents' room, kneel down in front of the window again, and notice that the car in the driveway has started, and the guy sitting in the driver's seat, still grinning. He also doesn't turn the headlights on. He shifts it into reverse and begins slowly backing out of the driveway, grinning the entire time. Right before he drives off, he turns his head, and I swear to God, he makes direct eye contact with me. Again, I can't see his eyes because of the hat, but I know he was looking at me. This is really disturbing to me, since he really didn't know where I was in the house. The parents' bedroom is the furthest window to the right if you're looking at the house from the outside. The lights in the parents' bedroom are off, and I'm kneeling down, so really the only part of me that might potentially be visible is the top of my head, my eyes, and my nose. But it's also pitch black outside. He doesn't have his headlights on, and it's pitch black in the parents' bedroom, so I doubt that was the case. He also didn't spend time scanning the windows. His head literally just snapped to where I was. It's like he could sense where I was. After that, I had to calm down and collect myself. I started replaying what had just happened and came to the following conclusion. This guy was no pizza delivery guy. He had no uniform, and he looked and acted like he was possessed or something, and his car was unmarked. Those 20 minutes or so between when he walked backwards off the front porch to when he got in his car were probably spent walking around the house, checking all the doors, trying to gain entry. He had malicious intent. Maybe he wanted to rob the house. Maybe he wanted to do something more sinister to me or the kids. Either way, this guy was bad news, and I'm glad that I trusted the voice in my head. I think he found some pizza box and tried to pose as a pizza delivery guy to get me to open the door for him so that he could strike. The town where I live is upper middle class and has a super low crime rate, and drugs aren't really an issue. We're also surrounded by other similar upper middle class areas, so I doubt that this person was on drugs. Of course, I could be wrong. Maybe this dude was just jacked up on drugs. Maybe he really was just a pizza delivery man with some unsettling personal quirks, but I'm really doubtful. Whatever he was, I'm glad I haven't seen him since, that he never returned to this family's house, and that I had enough sense to triple check the front door being locked and listen to the voice in my head.